Good afternoon. This session is being transmitted live also. So good morning, good night from wherever you are. Bonsoir, bonjour. Cette session est transmise aussi en direct à travers le monde. Où que vous soyez, nous vous souhaitons la bienvenue à partir du siège des Nations Unies. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to call to order the 2022 edition of the Africa Open for Business Summit. And it's a great pleasure to have you. My name is Jibril Diallo. I'm President and Chief Executive Officer of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, an organization headquartered in New York with 501c3 status, which has got consultative status with several organizations of the United Nations, and which is running a special project in support of the United Nations to popularize the Sustainable Development Goals in Africa and in the diaspora in over 80 countries. I would like to extend a warm thank you to His Excellency, Ambassador Cheikh Niang, permanent representative of Senegal to the United Nations. As you know, Senegal is the current chair of the African Union. Ambassador Cheikh Niang, in spite of his busy schedule, worked tirelessly to make sure that we convene at the headquarters of the United Nations in this time of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. So I'd like to extend a warm thank you and a warm welcome to Ambassador Cheikh Niang. Thank you very much, Ambassador. And we're very, very fortunate to have our moderator. We thought that since the African Union is the body that represents all of us, Africa and the diaspora, who better than the African Union to be the overall moderator of this session. So it's my pleasure to introduce Her Excellency Hilda Suka Mafudze, Ambassador of the African Union to the United States of America. And our chair of the board is Honorable Constance Newman, to the right of the ambassador, Cheikh Niang. She is a former Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, former head of USAID for Africa, among other assignments. She still finds time to give us, to make at our disposal her experience as chair of the board. So we have our chair of the board of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, Ms. Constance Newman, who is here. And to my far left, a young lady who has de facto become a global champion for the campaign to give a red card to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. It is an idea whose time has come. That's Sharon Okubo Kumbabach. So I would like to express my gratitude to the International Trade Center, represented today by Ms. Aïssatou Diallo, for sponsoring simultaneous translation services. Donc pour les francophones, il y a une traduction simultanée que vous pouvez suivre dans l'un des deux canaux. The theme of today's summit is economic empowerment of women through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. This theme falls within the framework of the campaign launched by the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network to give a red card to all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. Women's rights are human rights. As you know, in the game of football, called soccer in the United States, when the referee gives a red card to a player, what happens? That player is out of the field. So we want to make sure that discrimination and violence against women and girls is a serious infraction against the rules, as in the games of football. And when a player gets that kind of card, he or she is permanently dismissed from the field. The Red Card campaign envisions any form of gender-based discrimination or violence or serious infraction of the rules of society deserving of a red card. I would like to draw your attention to the wooden statue over there. It depicts a young girl with arms upraised. And as you can see, a bird hovering with outspread wings above her head. This statue, which was a gift of Denmark, symbolizes humankind and hope. That is why it's so appropriate for us to hold this session of Africa Open for Business in this Trusteeship Council chamber. I would like also to mention that it is women and girls of today that carry the hope of humankind. This is true when these chambers were built, and it should be true today. Next year marks 75 years of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. 75 years ago, the governments of the world met in Paris, and they declared that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Last week, I was at a meeting of African Women Leaders Network. At that meeting, one of my former senior colleagues, whom is very known to many of you, the Honorable Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Nobel Prize winner and former president of Liberia, noted that we have come a long way in having equal representation in leadership positions. However, she says, if we continue at the current pace, it will take at least, imagine, 100 years before women and girls will enjoy the equal right promised to them. Another 100 years. My sisters and brothers, if we have to wait another 100 years, it means that the vast majority of those alive today, many of our mothers, many of our sisters, many of our daughters, many of our granddaughters, many of our great-granddaughters will not have the opportunity to fully enjoy the equality, the dignity, and the rights promised to them in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They should not have to wait any longer. We need to hope, we need to push, we need to fight and aim for the choices, for the voices, for the leadership of women and girls to be heard today. For our mothers, for our sisters, for our daughters, for our granddaughters, for our great-granddaughters to enjoy true freedom and equality today. One of the pillars of the African Continental Free Trade Area, most international trade instruments, is something that is called the most favored nation. This principle is enshrined in Article 5 of the International Agreement establishing the area, as well as a number of protocols. The most favored nation principle says that every member state of the African Continental Free Trade Area must be treated no less favorably than another member of the area. We are here, meeting in this room, and connected worldwide to make sure that women and girls must be treated no less favorably than men and boys in the implementation of the African Free Trade Area everywhere else in the world. In this context, with the permission of our ambassadors here present, with the permission of the chair of the executive board of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, I would like politely to ask you to stand up, please. I would like you to join hands, elbows or fists or spirit, so that we form a wall here to make sure that the idea of fighting gender-based violence and harmful practices is an idea whose time has come. I'd like you to please close your eyes in a moment of reflection on this, so that individually and collectively we make a pledge to do so here and now. Thank you. You may be seated. It is now my pleasure to hand the floor over to the moderator of our session, Her Excellency, the permanent representative of the African Union to the United States. Excellency.
Thank you very much, and to Excellencies, distinguished representatives, diaspora networks, ladies and gentlemen, and I would want to distinctly also salute my chairperson of Senegal, Your Excellency, here present. Thank you. I stand on all protocols that have been mentioned by my brother Jibril. So, first and foremost, I would want to thank him, Jibril Diallo, and for the kind introduction that he did to me, and for his invitation to be here on behalf of the African Union, in which we are building the Africa that we want. It is with great pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to you to the 4th Africa Open Business Summit, Economic Empowerment of Women and Girls through the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It is my distinct honor today to serve at this essential occasion that fully embraces the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network in collaboration with the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Senegal, my ambassador, my chairperson, whom I have saluted already. UNFPA to the United Nations, UNFPA, UNDP, Africa Bureau, UN Women, and UN Habitat. These powerful organizations bring us together to reflect on empowering the mother and the mothers-to-be through the African Continental Free Trade Area. Africa is a continent whose biggest population is women. And through the well-meaning leadership of the African Union and its member states is making great strides in line with women and girls' empowerment. As you may be aware, these achievements in raising women's economic empowerment wouldn't be possible without the political participation, leadership, and decision-making power of none other than women and girls. Gender inclusion is in each AU member state and the government, which my brother Diallo has already mentioned, mantra. All the organs of our union are mandated to have women's and the girls' gender strategies in their frameworks. It is an issue that is being saturated in each and every member state, in each and every organization, that we should respect the percentage of women. And in all the same, having these women being the bigger number in the continent, and giving them the due respect. Due to these efforts, we have witnessed remarkable progress in economic empowerment, which has in return boosted education and health for women and their families, and most importantly, visible gains in the numbers of girls who are continuing with school. Looking back at my time, my mother, an uneducated woman, but educated and very rich in knowledge, would remind me at each and every turn, education is the only way for you to get there, where you want to be. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa is on the rise. When it comes to all matters of development, particularly women and girls, AFCFTA, which is Africa Continental Free Trade Area, is the first ever continental board that makes the economic empowerment of females a reality. I think we all are aware that AFCFTA, we are building a big market of 1.3 billion people with a $2.4 trillion in return. And what does that mean at the end of the day? It means Africa is building a very big market. And we are saying, where are the women and girls? The good thing, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area have brought in the women in knowledge that the informal sector that we experience on the African continent today is led by women. Let me say so. Yes. This is realized through the support of young African women. In the small and medium enterprises, the AFCFTA's duty is to make cross-border trade possible. I think most of us, some of us were educated by those funds of cross-border, where sometimes when mommy says to daddy, I will be crossing borders tomorrow, I'm catching the earliest bus, and there's a bit of tension where daddy is saying, you are going. But us as children would be excited, mommy will bring goodies from that trip where she is going. So some of us have been educated through such funds, and it's mostly women who do cross-border, which has gotten to a higher level at the moment as we speak, and which has held the economies of African countries at each and every turn of the economic development. The AFCFTA's duty to make cross-border trade possible, as I've said, which results in changing the traditional informal trade into formal. By the way, I should note most of these enterprises are women-owned. A key policy on the AFCFTA is to negotiate and develop its protocol on women and youth in trade. These protocols are designed to deal with obstacles facing women in trade. The AFCFTA worked towards leveling the playing field for women in trade on regional value chains and has a significant positive impact which is being felt as we speak. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to share one key announcement of AFCFTA in line with the economic empowerment of women and girls. As of May this year, which is 2022, consultations have been held in 26 countries and additional consultations are underway. It is worthy underscoring these consultations provide women in trade a platform to express their opinion and voice their concerns and needs, thereby actively participating in the development of the protocol on the women and the youth in trade. During this deliberation, I urge all of us to focus our efforts on a better world, realizing equal rights for women and men, girls and boys, everywhere, including the economic arena. May God bless our work here today, and may God bless women and girls everywhere. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. We're going to, this is the area of modern technology. We're trying to now connect the first black woman vice president of Colombia, Francia Marquez. So we are trying to connect with her. She will come in anytime to greet and receive an award from the hands of the chair of the board of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network for making history on behalf of people of color in Colombia. Oh, yeah. So we may get her anytime right now. And while we do that, I would like, on your behalf, to warmly welcome the first ever Vice President of Costa Rica, F.C. Campbell Barr, here present, former Vice President of Costa Rica, who made the way for so many of other women leaders, not only in Africa, not only in Latin America, but also throughout the world. So welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
So we will continue, and as soon as the Vice President of Colombia comes on, we will have her to address this August Assembly. In the meantime, I hand the floor back to the moderator.
Yes, at the moment we go into the musical interlude, Red Card song, which will run for 7 minutes. Kindly join in the introduction of Mr. Abbas Mubarak Akeju, Executive Producer, ARDN Goodwill Ambassador, CEO, Prime Music, and the partners are Flick TV, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Oh, you're welcome, my brother. Yes.
Thank you, Madam. First, I would like to say a big thank you to Dr. Jibril for your excellent leadership. Thank you, sir. We must all stand together and say no to all forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls. So, on May 25th, 2022, we launched the official ARDN song, excuse me, titled Stop Violence and Discrimination, featuring 5 strong female artists from Africa. We have Perola from Angola, Wendy Shea from Ghana, Soraya Ramos from Cape Verde, Lukembo Zikodi from South Africa, Spice Diana from Uganda. Stop Violence and Discrimination is now available on all online music stores. Please, please, let's all continue to support the music by streaming online. Thank you.
To be in this world filled with love. Ombemba Alessandro, Ochocha, Chikale Chiwa. Chimva ukwagalira iteka tulatulye tuli baluganda obuntu bwe buwangwa. Welcome home. I can be black, you can be white. We are the same. Africa, Africa, we are the same. So I welcome you home. Let's share the simple seed. Welcome, Africa. Africa, we are the same. Yeah. We should focus on our matters so we can make them better. Queremos paz, proteção e amor. Dizer não ao sofrimento e a dor. É tudo acaba no contrário ao rally. É tudo acaba no contrário ao rally. If united we are, united we stand. We can be in this situation. If united we are, united we stand. We can be a stronger nation. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 This is now our time. Let us all stand up and love one another. This is now our time. Let us all stand up and be together.
Yes, that is so beautiful and well-meaning song. That speaks volumes. Let's just give another pom-pom. Right now we go into the welcome remarks by Hon Constance B. Newman, Chair of the Board, ARDN, United States of America.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome. I want to welcome on behalf of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. And we're welcoming you to the 4th Africa Open for Business Summit. And what I want to do is share with you 4 sets of words and phrases that we suggest that you listen for and think about during this summit. We think each of these words and phrases has special meaning at this important time for all of us who inhabit this earth. The phrases are Africa continental, free trade area, economic empowerment, and women and girls. As a summit participant, that's what I am. I want to share with you what I think before I know anything, before I hear anything. I want to tell you what I think about these words and phrases. Africa continental. Africa is, in my view, in the view of many, the continent of potential, having been given amazing resources, natural and human. Africa deserves the attention of the world because many on the continent are demonstrating that Africa is emerging as a leader on the global trade agenda. I believe that each participant in this summit has the opportunity to contribute to the efforts of many to expand Africa's economic position in the world by unleashing the power of its women and girls, as well as the power of the men and the boys. Let's not forget them, really. We need all of us, as well as the men and boys. The women and girls are important. The free trade agreement, that's another phrase. Who doesn't want to know more about and be involved in the activities of the largest free trade area in the world? 1.3 billion people across 55 countries, with the hope and the expectation of lifting 30 million people out of poverty. The third phrase, economic empowerment. Why would any of us spend an afternoon here if we were not interested in the economic empowerment of the people of the African continent and the diaspora, particularly the women and girls? And speaking of women and girls, this is my last set. Don't worry, I'm about to be finished. Speaking of women and girls, the fourth set of words and phrases to consider. We should all remember the Sustainable Development Goal number 5 is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. The African Renaissance and Diaspora Network then is hoping, beyond hope, we're expecting that each of you will be open to hearing more about the Red Card campaign and are committed to end all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. So again, we welcome you to this summit. We look forward to all participants knowing more about and being committed to Africa emerging as a leader on the global trade agenda, with the highest priorities, that of ensuring the economic empowerment of women and girls. So I turn this back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And what it means, what is being mentioned here is also AFCFTA, which will be the largest market, is unlocking the potential for African women to move from micro to macro business levels. And the women, as they have been tasked in doing such, little businesses, now I think we are all shaping up into a bigger picture to say we want to do it big. So we now continue our program with the opening remarks from Hon Epsie Campbell, member, United Nations Women Forum of People of African Descent, former First Vice President, Republic of Costa Rica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you all for being here, and also to allow me to, in my new position as designated President of the Forum of People of African Descent in the UN. First, I would like to greet my brother, Djibril Diallo, and also to the African Renaissance Diaspora Network for invite me and for talk with you a little ideas about women economic and political also empowerment. I'm sincerely thank and grateful for this invitation, because we need to make big efforts for women's rights and for the advancement of women in the diaspora and also African women, and to make British between us as women, but especially as people from Africa and from African diaspora. I would like to say that we need more commitment of the governments and the society to align with a vision for building a society with fair, equitable, sustainable society where women and men and all people in the society have guaranteed all the rights. It is crucial to place our horizon on the need to work together from the public, private, community, and family spheres to guarantee that all people, especially women, are entitled to the rights guaranteed in national and international human rights instruments. The commitment to end all types of discrimination is a fundamental step in advancing in a real development. Because of that, we need a transformative gender perspective that does not stigmatize any person, especially women and girls. I want to point it out that the leading of role of women in position of power and economic empowerment of women is vital to promote public policies to inclusion of all the people in all areas. We need more women in decision-making political spheres to change the path that we are working until today. And we want to learn about the experience of African women doing a very stronger work in their nations. It is also crucial to give condition to women to share decision-making with men, allowing to have more constructive society, more efficient and more sensitive spaces, and more aligned with reality to have an impact to ending the exclusion of our societies. There are many advances, we know, at the level and the states and companies regarding the inclusion of women in decision-making position. But we have a lot to do to involve all women, especially in this part of the world, women of African descent. More women in political position. That's why I'm so happy to have in this session the words of a very powerful woman as Francia Marquez, Vice President of the Republic of Colombia. We need to promote more women participation in political spaces. We need to propose in our governments, but also we need affirmative action because the women need to be and to work with their own businesses, but also in decision-making position of the private sector also. We need to promote parity laws in all our countries, but also diversity perspective for include women in decision-making position. Finally, I'm totally convinced that we need to work in a big alliance, working together, exchange our experience, try to have very stronger leadership of women, listen the women position, and change the matrix of power, because we need to include our perspective, but have a word more sensitive, who eliminate the gaps between women and men, but also to put the human rights of all the people in the first line of our decision. We have to work in SDGs because in this time, we have a lot of Black women behind, and we have the promise of our governments to no leave nobody behind. We are working on it. We have to work together as a tribe, as a tribe of people who want to promote a new society, and inclusion, and sustainable development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, former Vice President of Costa Rica, the great Honorable Epsi Campbell-Barr. Thank you very much again. It is now our pleasure, again, to try and connect logistics with the Vice President of Colombia. If the spirits and the gods are with us, we will get, I'm sure they are with us, we will get connected. So please connect the Vice President.
Buenas tardes, un saludo muy fuerte a todas las personas presentes en este foro, en especial al señor Abril Diallo, que me invita a ser parte de esta importante conversa sobre el poder de las mujeres y el poder de las mujeres que pasa por tener condiciones económicas, por tener condiciones de una calidad de vida, por tener dignidad.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you very much, President and CEO of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, Jibril Diallo. This is definitely a very important conversation for the power of women. We want women to have better economic conditions, better quality of life, and better dignity.
Saludo de manera muy calurosa a la red de la diáspora del Renacimiento Africano, que ha estado por muchos años trabajando fuertemente por conectar a todo el continente africano y su diáspora. Yo hago parte de los nietos y nietas de esos hombres y mujeres que un día fueron esclavizados, desarraigados, y que nos tocó ir reconstruyendo nuestra identidad en otros lugares del planeta, en otros lugares del mundo, pero que hoy nos reencontramos para cogernos de la mano y poder sacar adelante nuestro pueblo.
Thank you very much to the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network for this invitation. An organization that has worked very well in the African continent and with the diaspora of Africans like me. I am part of the women and men that were displaced from the African continent. We had to construct our own identity, and we have to fight here for our rights. But now we are seeing each other again, and I am very happy to see everyone again.
Tengo que decir que como vicepresidenta de Colombia ahora tenemos desafíos enormes, y un desafío que tenemos es hablar y avanzar en la política de justicia racial en nuestro país, pero también esa justicia racial que nos permita conectar en términos económicos y culturales con el continente africano.
I must say, as the Vice President of Colombia, that we have great challenges ahead. And I must say that one of the most important challenges is to advance in racial justice, not only in my country, but to advance in racial justice that can contribute to economic development in Colombia and in the other countries of the world, especially those in development.
En mi país, el país que gobierno ahora junto al presidente Gustavo Petro, la esperanza de vida de las mujeres afrodescendientes es 5 años menos que la esperanza de vida del resto de las mujeres de Colombia.
In my country, the country that I govern with President Gustavo Petro, the life expectancy of Black women is 5 years less than the life expectancy of other ethnicities or women in Colombia.
Y esto nos obliga a pensar en cómo garantizar la esperanza de vida de las mujeres afrodescendientes en Colombia, en África, en el Caribe es igual que el resto de las mujeres en el mundo.
This makes it mandatory for us to think how to guarantee that the life expectancy in Colombia, in Latin America, in Africa, and in the Caribbean is possible to be equal as the life expectancy of all other women in the world.
Entonces no podemos hablar de fortalecimiento y empoderamiento económico de las mujeres africanas o afrodescendientes sin hablar de la educación.
So we cannot talk about the empowerment and economic development of women and of Black women on Africa and other places without the possibility to talk about equality.
Yo no estuviera aquí hoy como vicepresidenta si no hubiera hecho un largo esfuerzo y un largo camino por educarme, por prepararme para gobernar este país.
Education is absolutely crucial. I wouldn't be here as a vice president if I wouldn't have done the effort to educate myself for the development of this country.
Y hoy que me he convertido en un referente para muchos niños y niñas de mi país y de otros países, pues en lo que pienso es en cómo garantizar educación para esos niños y niñas.
And now that I have become a reference for boys and girls of my country and of many other countries, the only thing that I can think of is about how to guarantee that education for those boys and girls.
Una de las respuestas a enfrentar el racismo estructural, el colonialismo, ¿sí?, que tenemos hoy en nuestro gobierno es poder conectar nuevamente los lazos diplomáticos entre Colombia y África.
One of the responses and proposals to fight against structural racism and colonialism in my country is to get to have and to connect the diplomatic relations that we have between Colombia and the countries of Africa.
Porque aquí hay mujeres produciendo, hay mujeres negras que están fortaleciendo sus propias economías, pero estas mujeres no tienen dónde vender sus productos. Creo que sería muy importante si en esa conexión entre los países del sur, del Caribe, con África, pudieran las mujeres establecer una política de comercio justo entre mujeres afrodescendientes, entre mujeres indígenas, entre mujeres de la diáspora.
Because there are many women here, Black women in Colombia and in the Caribbean, who are strengthening their economies and have a lot of products to offer, but they can't sell those products. So I think that a very good opportunity is to have a fair trade with Africa in order for them to sell the products and to strengthen the economy and the trade between the nations.
Una de las responsabilidades que tengo en mi gobierno es establecer el Sistema Nacional de Cuidado. Y este Sistema Nacional de Cuidado busca redistribuir esas tareas, el cuidado en África o el cuidado en Colombia o el cuidado en América Latina, ha estado sobre los hombros de las mujeres. Es necesario entonces hacer un análisis de distribución del cuidado, que el cuidado se ponga en función de la sociedad, del Estado, y libere esa carga, que es una carga patriarcal impuesta a las mujeres.
One of the responses that my government is searching for is to create a national system of care. This national system of care must redistribute the tasks of the home, of the households, which has been historically, both in Africa and in Latin America, care has been historically on the women, has been the responsibility of the women. The idea for us is to redistribute this care on the responsibility of the society, of the state, because this is a patriarchal institution in which the care has always been as part of the women, but we want to redistribute this with the state and with the family.
Y comparto las palabras de Essie Campbell cuando plantea que es necesario que las mujeres podamos tomar decisiones políticas. Y eso implica la participación política de las mujeres en los espacios de poder.
And I deeply share Izzy Campbell's words in which she says that women must be able to take political decisions and that we can share those political decisions in power.
Por último, quiero decir que no es posible enfrentar la crisis climática que hoy afronta la humanidad si no enfrentamos la crisis racial, si no enfrentamos la injusticia en términos del género.
And lastly, I must say that it is not possible to confront the climate crisis that we live around the world if we do not do it with a gender and a racial perspective. Those are two very important parts of the analysis that we must take into account to address the climate crisis.
Justicia climática, justicia racial y justicia de género están entrelazadas y no se puede avanzar en una sin pensar en las otras, sin trabajar en las otras.
Climate justice, racial justice, and gender justice are all intertwined. You cannot think in one without thinking in the others and working in the others.
Por último, entonces, quiero agradecer a la Red de Diáspora y Renacimiento Africano por el premio que nos acaban de otorgar, que no es el premio a Francia Márquez, sino que es el premio a todas las mujeres afrodescendientes de la diáspora africana, a todas las abuelas nuestras que tuvieron que padecer la esclavitud, que han tenido que padecer el colonialismo y, por supuesto, el racismo contemporáneo.
So I want to really thank the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network for this recognition. And I must say that this is not a recognition for Francia Márquez, but this is a recognition for all the women Afro-descendants, for all our grandmas that had to suffer slavery, that had to suffer colonialism, and that had to suffer racism. We are here for them.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
We thank you very much, VP of Colombia, and would want to call on Honorable Constance Newman to present an award to her.
Your Excellency, we are so honored to be in your presence, and it was no surprise to us, so we're ready. We have an award recognizing you, recognizing your words, but more importantly, your actions. And it is an honor for us. I don't know about the technology here, whether you see this or not, but we'll send it to you. It's framed and everything. So, congratulations.
And we will travel to Colombia, to Bogota, to officially present you with the 2022 edition of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network Award. Thank you very much. You made history. This is the first time that the Vice President of Colombia is addressing an audience inside the United Nations headquarters.
Thank you very much. And now I call upon we were very honored by our President, H.E. Felix Antonio Tshisekedi Chilombo, President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who has made some remarks, and these are going to be read by H.E. Georges González Ntalaja, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of the Democratic Republic of the Congo to the United Nations. Excellency, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm pleased to be here, and I'm so impressed by the number of people in this place, and knowing I've known Jibril Jallow since 1985, when I was professor at Howard University in Washington, and I know how a dynamic and well-organized and a person who knows how to bring people together. And I'm so very happy that his organization, the ARDN, was willing to give my president, President Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Chilombo, an award for the leadership he shown when he was president of the African Union in promoting the progress of women. As a matter of fact, in my country, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, we have about 15 women ministers, and certainly they're not as many as the men, because we have about 54 ministers in our government. But what's the most important is that we have women in positions that women never occupied before. Right now, I've spent most of the day today with the Minister of Justice, who's a woman, a very important position in the government. We also have a Minister of Investments and government enterprises, who's a woman. Minister of mining. Mining is a very, very important industry in our country because we depend mostly on mines and minerals. We have a woman as a minister, and I can go on we have a deputy prime minister, and the minister of environment and sustainable development is a woman also. As a matter of fact, when we were staying with the president at the Lotte Hotel, I happened to be in the elevator with a gentleman from Saudi Arabia, who was an Egyptian by birth, but a Saudi citizen today. So he asked me where I was from. I told him I was from the Congo. He said, "Oh, you come from that country where this brilliant woman was the Minister of Environment, was talking," and I was really impressed by her. So this is what Tshisekedi has been doing, something that our country has never seen before, and we are very, very proud of him, and we thank the RDN for giving him this reward. Thank you very much.
So now we're going to see the acceptance video from His Excellency, President Tshisekedi. It wouldn't have happened without the untiring efforts and the support of His Excellency, Ambassador George Nzongola, here present. Let us say thank you very much again to the Ambassador. Prix 2022 du Réseau de la Renaissance africaine et de la diaspora pour le leadership africain reconnu. Son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Félix Antoine Chilombo Tshisekedi, pour son leadership exemplaire dans la République démocratique du Congo, pour sa vision panafricaine qui place les femmes et les jeunes au cœur de sa politique d'égalité des chances, son attachement au principe de masculinité positive en tant que président en exercice de l'Union africaine et sa vision de la RDC comme pays solution pour les changements climatiques. L'histoire personnelle de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Félix Antoine Chilombo Tshisekedi, est une source d'inspiration, non seulement pour les chefs d'État africains, mais aussi pour les leaders d'opinion du monde entier. Signé le Réseau de la Renaissance africaine et de la diaspora, New York, États-Unis d'Amérique.
Merci, Renaud. Merci de tout cœur. Je suis vraiment ému de recevoir ce prix. Oui. Oui. Bon. Comme je le disais, je suis ému de recevoir ce prix. Je remercie le réseau pour l'honneur qu'il me fait. Ce combat, je l'ai entamé par conviction. Donc, je ne savais pas qu'il allait être reconnu internationalement. Tant mieux, gloire à Dieu pour ça, parce que nous allons continuer à valoriser la femme dans notre pays et surtout à la protéger contre les violences. La femme, c'est l'avenir d'une nation. C'est elle qui développe la nation à partir de la procréation, mais également en passant par l'éducation, les valeurs qu'elle inculque aux enfants, mais à la famille en général. Et je crois que c'est une valeur sûre. Moi-même, personnellement, je suis entouré de beaucoup de femmes, donc ça veut dire que j'ai fait beaucoup de filles. Et donc, pour moi, en plus de ma mère et de toutes les grandes dames qui travaillent autour de moi, la femme est un être très important, très cher, que nous devrions encourager, protéger, promouvoir. Protéger peut-être pas parce qu'elles savent se protéger elles-mêmes, nos femmes, mais les promouvoir. Et comme je disais dans mon discours, ce n'est pas un cadeau qu'on fait à la femme, c'est une responsabilité pour elles d'assumer leur rôle. Voilà. Je vous remercie encore.
Excuse me, because I have to meet the president of the Constitutional Court of the Congo in my office at 4:30. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Excellency. We thank you so much, Excellency, and we thank the President in absentia with the work that he's doing on the continent. I would say in Africa, such work ignites, it goes into other countries, and we look forward in other countries, such will happen, where there's more of the leadership, and there's the VP was saying here, that we have to come together, and when we work together, make sure we get women into political positions. Let's now be joined by our African Union Chair, H.E. Cheng Niang, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Senegal to the United Nations. Excellency.
Thank you, Excellency. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate very warmly the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, ARDN, for convening this 2022 Africa Open for Business Summit. The Permanent Mission of Senegal is proud to be a co-organizer alongside other important partners. Allow me at this point to pay a vibrant homage, tribute to a great son of Senegal in Africa, Dr. Djibril Diallo, who has distinguished himself not only for his very laudable academic achievements and his impressive career, but also for his passionate commitment to gender equality and to the socio-economic empowerment of women in Africa and beyond. The well-chosen theme of this summit, aiming at reflecting on how best African women can play a more fulfilled role in the new context of the ZLECAf, is just another testimony of ARDN's mission to advance the development of our continent. As we all know, ratified already by an overwhelming majority of African countries, the ZLECAf signals a new dawn, a new departure for the African continent, with an enlarged intra-trade market, you mentioned the number, of over 1.3 billion people, abolishing trade barriers which hampered the development of our continent over the past 70 years. Under this new scheme, the growth in trade and investment opportunities will benefit African SMEs, and many of them are owned by African women. Therefore, it should be advisable that policies aiming at strengthening the ZLECAf foster a sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development for all, in an environment where women should equally fully enjoy all their rights. Today, because today we are witnessing a very sad reality, that is that the economic and trade structures in place are not favorable to women and who are largely disadvantaged compared to men in the labor market and in terms of economic opportunities. Hence, it is crucial to ensure that within the framework of the ZLECAf, a genuine strategy is developed to combat the feminization of poverty, the marginalization of vulnerable groups, including women, in the inclusion of women in strategic decision-making spheres in order to guarantee them decent work and equal opportunity on the same basis as men. These efforts are all the more necessary as African countries are still in a phase of economic and social fragility resulting from a combination of adverse factors like the COVID-19 pandemic, like climate change, terrorism, and institutional change crisis. All these shocks have indeed severely strained the economies of developing countries, and of African countries, increasing poverty levels, exacerbating social inequalities, and increasing the vulnerability of women and girls. That is why it is vital to continue, as I think one of you said, the implementation of both Agenda 2030 and 2063 in conjunction with the ZLECAf. To achieve these objectives, African governments must individually put in place bold and proactive strategies to promote the empowerment of women by making sure that the full economic and social rights of women are strictly respected. In this regard, I can offer as an example the efforts of the Senegalese government, which has taken bold initiatives to empower women. Those initiatives include the establishment of a national strategy to combat violence against women. It is very strict legislation, which is very strictly followed. The second one is the significant improvement of women's living conditions through the construction of something called the Basic Community Infrastructure by the Emergency Community Development Program. The acronym in French is PUDC, consisting in building social services structures in the rural areas and in remote areas. And also the integral access to health care through the institution of a universal health care coverage program, which is working very well, which is really inclusive, including those who are not working, who are not civil servants, those who are the elderly, the women. So this is a really very comprehensive program taking into account the needs of all Senegalese people. The other one is the capacity building program for women's entrepreneurship and the processing of agricultural products with the support and, of technical and financial partners such as UN Women, the EU, USAID, and BAD, the African Development Bank. The access to land ownership by women through the implementation of land reforms to increase women's productivity. I can also mention another initiative, which is the funding of women entrepreneurs with an initial budget of nearly $120 million under the management of the structure called Délégation à l'entrepreneuriat rapide des femmes et des jeunes. In a nutshell, in my view, two conditions must at least be observed by African governments to guarantee equal opportunity between men and women in the framework of the ZLECAf. The first one is the adoption of gender-sensitive and inclusive trade policies at both continental and national levels. And equally, the systematic integration of gender into the development programs of government and development partners. To conclude, I would like once again to congratulate Dr. Djibril Diallo and ARDN for allowing us to have such a fruitful conversation. And I hope that the results of our deliberations will be brought to the attention of our leaders and to the African Union as a valuable contribution of ARDN to this major and important project of ZLECAf. I thank you.
We thank you very much, Your Excellency. We have learned a lot out of this and what Senegal is doing. And as I've said earlier, we have other countries also learning what others are doing. That's who we are. That's the integration that we're talking of as we talk of issues of Africa, that we're coming together. And expertise in Senegal can also be done in another country that is next to Senegal. Thank you, Your Excellency. We appreciate it. Thank you. We are now moving on to the remarks by states and international organizations by Mrs. Aissatou Diallo Senior Coordinator of African Continental Free Trade Area International Trade Center, who is coming through a video, and followed by Mr. Travis Atkins, President and CEO of United States Africa Development Foundation.
Excellences, Monsieur Cheikh Niang, ambassadeur et représentant permanent du Sénégal auprès des Nations Unies à New York. Excellences, Monsieur Georges Zangola, ambassadeur et représentant permanent de la République démocratique du Congo auprès des Nations Unies à New York. Her Excellency, Mrs. Hilda Soukama Fudze, ambassador of the African Union to the United States. Chers frères, Monsieur Djibril Diallo, président and CEO of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, dear UN colleagues and partners, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and good evening from Geneva. On behalf of the International Trade Center, ITC, I would like to thank the permanent mission of the Republic of Senegal to the United Nations, as well as the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network for organizing this event and continue to spotlight the need in including women to achieve holistic growth in Africa. As we discuss the economic empowerment of women through the African Continental Free Trade Area, it remains clear women entrepreneurs form an important part of the Africa growth equation. As you know, women estimated to account for 70% of informal cross-border trade in Africa. They will be well positioned to tap into this new continental market. But first off, we must ask ourselves a few questions. To begin with, what does the AFCFTA mean for African women that are involved in trade-related activities across Africa? How the AFCFTA is going to benefit their businesses? How the AFCFTA is going to impact their day-to-day lives? To be concrete, how the AFCFTA is going to benefit to Fatima, who is living in Kaduna City in Nigeria, who is producing shea butter product for hair and body? How can the AFCFTA be an opportunity for her to export beyond the Nigerian market and get new customers, for instance, from Egypt, DRC, South Africa, or Angola? How is she going, how the AFCFTA is going to help her to successfully formalize her business and export across Africa using the AFCFTA rules of origin? Is she aware of these rules of origin? At ITC, we want to make the AFCFTA work for micro, small, and medium-sized companies, as well as women and youth entrepreneurs. We want the AFCFTA to be an opportunity to create more jobs, decent jobs across Africa. This is why we have launched our One Trade Africa program to empower, enable, and enhance the competitiveness of MSMEs, women, and youth entrepreneurs to access more lucrative business opportunities in the context of this new continental market. This program is complemented by a number of ITC's programs and one of our flagship programs on women economic empowerment, She Trades. Today, with 55 member states and 1.3 billion consumers, the AFCFTA is going to provide a huge opportunity for women to expand their businesses. For this to happen, some key milestones must be achieved. In fact, let me summarize. For us, 5 key milestones must be achieved. First, access to trade and market information. This is the starting point. Women must know which market they have to target and how to comply with the buyer's requirement. Second, women need access to finance to be able to support their production and their businesses. Access to finance with affordable interest rate, not only from microfinance institutions, but also from commercial banks. Third, women need to get the skills to improve the quality of their product, to develop marketing and branding skills, and to get attractive packaging to position their product. Position their product also online. That's the 4th key milestone women need to leverage e-commerce opportunities. And fifth, the business ecosystem at national level, at the sub-regional level, and at continental level, the business ecosystem for women-led transactions, including on government procurement, must be improved. It is important for women to be sensitized about commercial contract implication, to get some fiscal incentives, and also to be aware of intellectual property rights, as many women in Africa are innovating with their product, and it is important to protect their creative ideas. In 2020, ITC and Afreximbank have developed a training program on how to export under the AFCFTA. This training program helps businesses, including women entrepreneurs, to get the skills to export across Africa. The new protocol on women and youth, being championed by the president of Tanzania and under the coordination of the AFCFTA Secretariat, is going to further concretize our commitment to make the AFCFTA work for women entrepreneurs, but also for youth. The AFCFTA is not only a trade agreement, but a development tool that will pave the way towards achieving, in one hand, the AU's Agenda 2063, as well as the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In conclusion, I would like to say that we at ITC, we look forward to joining forces with all partners, all our African partners, UN agencies, think tank organizations, and other institutions such as ARDN to bring about the change African women entrepreneurs deserve. Thank you once again for having invited ITC to join you virtually. I wish you a very fruitful event. Bonne fin d'après-midi. Merci encore.
Thank you very much, Aishatu. And you've mentioned so many issues that are of positive, and the finances shouldn't be only coming from those smaller banks, but also commercial banks and the intellectual property rights. Those two things, I found they are very important for us. And we have Travis Atkins, who will come also through the, on video, the president of United States Africa Development Foundation.
Greetings to all of you. My name is Travis Atkins, and I'm the president and CEO of the U.S. African Development Foundation. Today, I'm pleased to address all of those attending the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network's 4th Annual Africa Open for Business Summit, focused on the economic empowerment of women throughout the African continental free trade area. Throughout the continent's rich history, women have been innovators and change makers. They are entrepreneurs, community builders, and thought leaders. African women have been central to the continent's development and have served as its leaders locally, nationally, and globally. Despite the recent gains in equality and opportunities for African women and girls, barriers still prevent many from reaching their true potential. As the only U.S. foreign assistance agency solely focused on Africa, USADF is committed to empowering and investing in women as the continent's majority population to ensure their voices are heard and their dreams are realized. At USADF, our mandate to support underserved populations in Africa aligns with the UN's SDG 5 for achieving gender equality and empowerment for women and girls. Africa has more women business owners than any continent on earth, and women in Africa are more likely than men to become entrepreneurs, making them an essential part of the continent's economies. Because of this, women-led enterprises make up the majority of USADF grantees. We have also committed to providing seed funding and technical support to select graduates of the U.S. Department of State's Academy for Women Entrepreneurs from 2020 to 2025. Thus far, we have provided nearly $1.7 million to over 125 AWE graduates in 14 African nations. This funding is intended to support women entrepreneurs in overcoming barriers in accessing capital, markets, networks, and mentorship. USADF's support of women entrepreneurs doesn't stop there, however. We recently announced the inaugural Accelerate Africa Entrepreneurship Challenge, which will support women and youth-led enterprises in becoming economically empowered and creating jobs across the continent. In partnership with the Department of State, USADF will also be rolling out the reimagined Africa Women's Entrepreneurship Program. This program is aimed at building the capacity of African women to own and manage businesses, enabling them to lead and inspire the next generation of women entrepreneurs. To support women's success in the traditionally male-dominated field of energy, USADF is also relaunching its own Women in Energy Challenge to promote the use of renewable energy solutions, mitigate the impacts of climate change across the continent, and connect underserved communities to clean energy sources. We recognize that women are central to sustainable development. The establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement provides a major opportunity for African countries to increase trade, jumpstart innovation, and potentially bring millions of people out of poverty. Women must be given every opportunity to take part in this pivotal moment. My hope is that together, through convenings such as today's, we can move closer to achieving more equitable societies for the majority population of the world.
Thank you very much, my brother Travis Adkins, for those wise words. Let me move on to the remarks by the co-organizers who are coming. I will talk of Argentina Mataval Pusen, Regional Director, West and Central Africa, United Nations Population Fund. She's coming out in live from Dakar, Senegal. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. It is Dr. Jibril Diallo, the CEO of this august institution, the Africa Renaissance and Diaspora Network, Your Excellency, the Ambassador Cheikh Naam, the Permanent Representative of the Republic of Senegal in New York, the Chair of the Board of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the Executive Director of the UN Population Fund, UNFPA, Dr. Natalia Kanem, I am honored to have this opportunity to address you on the importance of women's economic empowerment in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The African Union's Agenda 2063 envisions a prosperous continent based on inclusive growth, one that is people-driven and which unleashes the potential of its women and youth. This has to be a central tenet of all development efforts on the continent, and certainly must be at the heart of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. In African countries, we know that women contribute in many ways to the economies of their societies, and yet these valuable contributions are often underestimated, underpaid, and underappreciated. The shadow of patriarchal distribution of opportunities, wealth, and other economic benefits still hinders the advancement of girls and women. As reminded us today by His Excellency the Vice President Francia Marquez about racism, any form of discrimination is an obstacle to the advancement of anyone, especially women. It is also increasingly clear that sexual and reproductive health and rights, gender-based violence, and women's economic empowerment are closely interlinked. We cannot separate the exercise of power and control over economic resources from women's ability to exercise control over their bodies. and to decide when and if to have children. The SDGs do recognize this interdependence between sexual and reproductive health and rights and women's socioeconomic status. We need integrated multi-sectoral approaches to address these challenges. One important initiative that UNFPA is proudly associated with, in partnership with the World Bank and 9 governments, is the Sahelian Women's Empowerment and Demographic Dividend, otherwise known as SWED project, through which more than 150,000 young women are supported to engage in economic activities, and especially in non-traditional female sectors, such as driving and maintenance of tractors, for example, the installation of solar panels and satellite dishes, and other. Young girls are being kept longer in school through scholarships from this project. We applaud the governments who had the initiative to be part of this project in West and now Central Africa as well. To ensure inclusive implementation of AFCFTA, we need to explore measures to incentivize the participation and support of women-led, including young women-focused companies, startups, and economic ventures. We need cross-country service special purpose programs that combine economic empowerment and social benefits to the most vulnerable and left behind in our society. This includes support to cooperatives and women's associations and other such small and medium-scale ventures. We appreciate PR of Senegal, your examples of how your government is moving forward to empower women. African women's economic empowerment is at the heart of all sustainable development efforts and is an imperative for the continent and for the world. We are grateful and encouraged by organizations such as the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network for the important role they're playing tirelessly in continuing to mobilize member states, the United Nations, the private sector, foundations, civil society, and many others. Together, we can make women's economic empowerment a reality. We owe it to all girls and to women of Africa. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. And thank you for coming in directly and saying those wise words for us to learn a lot about our continent. We can do better if we work together. And I'm introducing my sister here, a RDN board member, Gordon Tepa, who will introduce our musical interlude. Thank you, my sister.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, are you having a good time? Yes. Oh, wonderful. We are very fortunate. Today we've had the first Vice President of Costa Rica, Black woman, and we heard a statement from another Black female Vice President of a Latin American country. What I also learned was Honorable Ipsy Bar was not only the first Vice President of Costa Rica, Black Vice President, she was the first in Latin America. I have been blown away by what we're having here today, and I know the next act will also blow you away. I want to introduce you to Lady Trumpet, Syreeta Thompson. And she's a very exciting performer, and I know you will be thrilled by her. I also want to let you know that there is Big Sister looking at us, looking down at us at the moment. Not Big Brother, Big Sister. Okay? Big sister is there looking down at us, and the bird above her represents hope. This was a gift of Denmark to the United Nations. And my friend over there from Global Communications, who was a guide and used to tour and knows what I'm saying is true. Anyway, I would like to invite Sarita to blow your horn. Thank you, Sarita. And you may notice her trumpet. It's all Swarovski's diamonds, all Swarovski. And as a matter of fact, the CEO, I believe, of the Swarovski Foundation is here, Larry Schaefer. Where are you, Larry? Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. We really enjoyed. Thank you so much, my sister. Yes, and we move on to Mrs. Mamuna Mahad Sharif, Executive Director, United Nations, Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat, United Nations Under Secretary General, who will come through a video. Yes. Let's move on to the appeal to sign the red card pledge. Introduction by my brother here, Jibril Diallo. Yes, President and CEO, ARDN, Republic of Senegal. I don't know. President and CEO, yes. So we would want the appeal for the red card right now from you.
All right. This is very simple. Do me a favor, please. Each one of you, take your cell phones and each and every one of us is going to sign a pledge, the red card pledge. Terence, do we have the pledge on the screen? If not, you have the card with you. Look at it. www.redcardpledge.com. www.redcardpledge.com. Each and every one of us needs to go online and sign the pledge here that the idea of fighting discrimination, fighting violence, using the convening powers of sports and culture is an idea whose time has come. So you have 1 minute to just use your devices in order to connect and increase the number. We had set in 2019 the goal of reaching 1 million engagement by the FIFA World Cup. FIFA World Cup is opening on the 21st of November, 2022 in Doha, Qatar. And we wanted to have at least 1 million engagement. We have gone beyond 1 million engagements, and we want to add this number. And this is something where Sharon Okubo Kumbabach is working on. We will be convening you again at a global launch of the Red Card campaign here or in Doha, Qatar on the 22nd of November. So your commitment, your contribution will be very important. Can you imagine? We have all this room, and we have those who are connected online. Everybody is just signing on the pledge under the oversight of our Goodwill Ambassador, Akiju, who mobilizes the world of sports and culture for the Red Card campaign. And let us clap everybody who has done so far, please. Thank you.
Yes, we now move on after doing this great work for signing on the red card. We should feel proud of ourselves for joining hands with this fight. We have Hon Pumuzile Mlambo Ncuga, a former Executive Director, UN Women, former United Nations Under-Secretary General, United Nations, former 4th Deputy President, Republic of South Africa. And we will be hearing the remarks by Rini Harper, Chief Executive Officer, Kai Kai Communications.
So you will get
Thank
the
you.
award from,
yes.
Get the award. Yeah.
Yes. She is the one accepting the award. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming to get this award, and you know it is earned every day in every way. And we have really been honored to work with her in so many different, but particularly here at the UN and UN Women. So thank you for honoring us by coming and accepting this award that's well earned.
Thank you, and it is my privilege, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and all protocols observed.
Right.
I am honored to be here for our sister Phumzile, who could not be here because in her way of continued service to others, she is today installed as the new Chancellor of University of Johannesburg.
Wonderful.
So she is sending her regards. And she asked that I say quite explicitly to Jibril for his tireless, unfailing commitment to Pan-Africanism, to his commitment to key institutions such as the UN and the AU, in committing to gender equality, and the clever association with football using the red card, which we all just signed, to demand accountability is so powerful. But for her part, as a member of the African Women's Leadership Network and founder of the Umulambo Foundation, she just wanted to state that mobilization of men and boys on the continent as gender activists who denounce gender-based violence, female genital mutilation, child marriage, and call for equal pay is critical. And she just wanted to say thank you for joining us all in the struggle for an equal world.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Leadership, women's leadership is getting there. Now, that's another one we should celebrate about and really clap again for these developments. Thank you. We move on to the remarks from women leaders. Mrs. Sharon Okubo Kumbabesh, yes, and ARD Senior Advisor on the Red Card Campaign and the founder, Adia Vijana Initiative, United States of America. Thank you, my little sister.
Thank you. I raise my voice not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. Dr. Diallo, thank you for all your efforts and, of course, for having me here. I would like to introduce the ARDN's Red Card Fashion Campaign, which includes a charity fashion show with a date to be announced, and the use of employing less fortunate women in India to assist in producing ARDN's Red Card products through the help of strong networks such as Kamlesh and Company. I would also like to recognize ARDN's Red Card dress designer, Kat Green. Please stand up. Kat designed the Red Card wearable art dress, which symbolizes the power and strength of women when we are promoted and empowered. The dress is to my left. I'm going to touch on the impact of the African Free Trade Agreement and on the fashion industry in Africa and the diaspora. The cultural economy has great potential to provide additional value to the economic growth and development of African countries. Using African-driven cultural exchanges, programs, and products, this sector can support greater intra-African trade. Successful implementation would allow African countries to further project a positive brand both locally and abroad. Second only to agriculture in the developing world, the fashion industry has the potential to transform lives, particularly for women and youth. The potential of the African fashion industry is burdened by limited access to finance and transportation of raw materials. The Africa Trade Agreement could resolve these issues and create potential for positive impact throughout the continent. Successfully implementing the trade agreement, coupled with other investments in fashion, could accelerate Africa's textile industry by generating $15.5 billion over the next several years. A more competitive fashion industry, strengthened by the trade agreement, could potentially lift Africa's share of the global fashion industry in the long run. The private sector and governments across the African region can play an important role in championing and providing financial support for Africa-wide cultural programs inspired by the trade's goals of greater regional integration. Being part of a larger market, small African countries are no longer restricted to producing their traditional products. With better policies and human resources, they can become the focus of new manufacturing operations that serve wider markets. Whenever a nation restricts economic freedoms and civil liberties, humanity suffers. The ease with which people can trade from the simplest goods and service to the most complicated, with both their immediate neighbors and people from all over the globe, is a good indicator of a given government's view of economic freedom. When countries have more barriers to trade, including arbitrary regulations, widespread corruption, we find generally lower quality of life. Lastly, the fashion industry holds considerable capacity to motivate and bring change of some of the most disadvantaged people, especially women and youth, and plays an important role in Africa's economic revolution. Through the power of partnership, we cannot wait to do more alongside Honoris. Thank you.
We thank you so much for these creative industries, and would want the countries in our continent and out there to be able to buy in.
Exactly.
Yes, and these are low-hanging fruits. Yes. And we will realize, our countries will realize the revenues out of this. Exactly. Yes, thank you.
I'd like us again to admire the fashion dress which was put together there through the tireless efforts of Kat, of Sharon, and other members. They also went to find poor women and designed red card bags, which will be available. So anything that the fashion industry can do in order to bring about sustainable development, sustainable economic development, is something that this team is working on. And on behalf of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network, we would like to thank you again for your tireless efforts in this. And let's say thank you again to Sharon and her team. Thank you.
And we now move on to Yanis Martis, Executive Director, National Council of Negro Women, United States of America. She's going to come on there. Yes, thank you.
Greetings, Excellencies, and to all the honored delegates. Thank you for this opportunity to address you on behalf of the National Council of Negro Women, founded by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune in 1937. We are privileged to be standing here with you as partners. Thank you, Dr. Diallo, to our very own Constance Newman, who not only chairs the board of ARDN, but sits on the board of directors of the National Council of Negro Women as our director of finance, our chairman of our finance committee. We are grateful to be here today because it signifies a milestone in a very important partnership. The African Continental Free Trade Area offers tremendous potential, not only for the growth of entrepreneurship, but for the growth of ties of people of African descent across the diaspora, whether they are on the continent, in North America, in the Caribbean, or anywhere on the globe. This is an important milestone in our relationship. I want to say to you, thank you for taking the Red Card Pledge, for signing the Red Card, and for propagating the Red Card campaign. We have worked diligently in the United States and beyond to accumulate partners such as the U.S. Soccer Foundation, the Institute of the Black World, our own NCNW affiliates, of which there are 32 national organizations, the African American mayors, and others to be part of this worthwhile goal of assembling 1 million impressions to end all forms of violence and discrimination against women and girls. Because we know that working together, working as partners, men, women together, everywhere across the globe, every color, every nation, that when women thrive, everyone thrives. When women are educated, everyone is educated. When women prosper, everyone prospers. And when women are healthy, everyone is healthy. When we work together as partners, as allies, men, women, nations, nonprofit organizations, NGOs, working together, then we can achieve great and noble accomplishments. I'm grateful for this day. I want to thank our NCNW staff members for being there. I believe that Ms. Spencer is there along with Jane Shue. Arlene Katsev, Terrence Coles, Frank Jackson, and our very own Mr. Kevin Johannes, our Director of Communications, have all been instrumental in making this day possible. Thanks to each and every one of you, and let us continue to strive until we reach the goal where no woman, no girl need fear for her safety or her aspirations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have learned. We are going to Google some more of this, but this is a lot of what has happened from ever since time immemorial. So as we move on with our program, we actually welcome the remarks from our youth. Carlen Zamba, a mental health assistant, Virginia Commonwealth University, from the United States of America. You're welcome.
Thank you. My name is Kalen. I'm a recent alumni at VCU, and I'm a mental health worker at the VCU Hospital. Today I'll be going over a presentation on how we can enhance our progress on ending the discrimination and violence against women and girls by looking at mental health policies and infrastructure. So why does empowerment play into this? Well, it's been found in evidence that victims of discrimination and violence tend to report more negative symptoms such as learned helplessness, low self-esteem, low self-value, and other such negative effects that reduce quality of life and health outcomes. And so for the past month and a half, my research team has been doing a systematic scoping review of the UN member states to see the layout of mental health in each country and to see how it's incorporated in this battle that we're fighting. And so there were three recurring themes that we found throughout our research. One being plan and action. A lot of countries had plans to implement structures and policies regarding mental health, but for various reasons did not act upon these plans. So we thought it would be beneficial for an overseeing organization to make sure these plans are coming to fruition. As they're coming to fruition, that longitudinal studies are initiated to gauge whether these institutions and policies are doing what they were set out to do. And if they're not, that the proper adjustments be made on a regular basis. The second thing we found was that the infrastructure and rural areas was not well developed or properly maintained. And so we advised that there be monthly clinics by current healthcare services and psych services in these areas, as there tends to be a higher rate of discrimination and violence against women and girls in rural areas. And on top of that, these victims tend to be hospitalized at a higher rate. And so not only does this bring an accountability aspect to the area, it provides resources to underserved areas. Another thing is the penal systems in most countries do not help us in this fight that we are fighting, as they imprison people who use alcohol and substances, which are both things that victims use to cope with what they're going through. And although it's not a healthy way to cope, instead of imprisoning them and saying, hey, you're on your own now, we should find ways to incorporate rehabilitation and compulsory treatment into punishment. That way we can help them become better members of society. The last thing is, a lot of these victims do not have the greatest support system at home. So we thought it'd be beneficial to implement self-help groups in inpatient and outpatient services. And a self-help group is just a group of people who are going through similar difficulties in life, and they come together to help each other. And it's not led by a professional, and there are no entrance fees. And several studies have shown that victims that go to these things tend to report more positive symptoms such as confidence, high self-esteem, and high self-value, all aspects that we want to give back to these victims. And so further research my team wants to look into, one, are ways we can mitigate the funding stress for countries to implement such solutions. Two, the specific opportunities that would arise for women in the private sector if these solutions were applied. And three, a way we can make a reality where mental health for everyone, including women, is a personal right rather than a privilege. And I want to thank God, Dr. Diallo, and Sharon Cumberbatch for allowing me to speak today, and for my research team for helping me put this together. So we have Connie Berger III, Nicholas Monahan, Daniel Lefevre, and Sebastian Berger. And we have one more team member that couldn't make it today, as she's in pharmacy school and had an exam, Shauna Keene. Thank you.
Thank you so much, young man. Thank you very much. We are seeing a lot and we are developing, and they say we have to catch them when they're still young, nurture them. And it's the reason you are here. We are happy with that. We actually go to the musical interlude by Mrs. Lorraine Lionheart, who is a singer and songwriter. Just for a few minutes. Is she here? Oh, she will come as a video. Mhm. Thank you very much. And yeah, we are learning a lot even from the music that's being played here. And this time I give it to the audience. Maybe some are burning, wanting to ask questions, and which I will hand over to my brother, Jibril. We will moderate in that regard. Thank you.
All the way from South Africa, we have Queen Makadzi, who has been so active in promoting the red card. Please stand up so that we can recognize you. Please, Queen Makadzi, the Queen who has been really dealing with the red card all the way from South Africa, doing so much using sports and culture for the red card. We appreciate every effort that you're making to really, in the great nation of South Africa, among the people of South Africa, promoting the red card campaign. So we want to again recognize you. You are our guest of honor during Africa Day in this very hall, Queen Makadzi, and we're very proud of you, and we thank you very much. Now we will open the floor for interaction from the floor. We have Madame Samb, all the way from Dakar, Senegal. If you could just introduce yourself and just give us a few comments. And when we are talking about also, when we are talking about economic empowerment of women, I would like to share with you a very interesting perspective on waste management. Mark Hutchins is here. It's a very interesting project, so we may have 1 minute for that, and so on, so that each one of us shares. Everybody who's in this room and beyond is somebody, has a story to sell. And what we want to do is to make sure that we have a touch of what is happening now and then follow up with our own connections. Madam Samb, please, go ahead. And Queen Mother Blakely is here, always blessing us with her presence. She's also here. Let us recognize Queen Mother Blakely. Please stand up. Please, please. You're always here supporting us, Queen Mother Blakely. Madame Samb, s'il vous plaît.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur Diallo. Bonjour à tous. Bonsoir. Je suis Madame Aminata Diop Samb. Je suis la directrice générale du Fonds de développement et de solidarité municipale, en abrégé FODEM. Je voudrais également qu'on parle de l'autonomisation économique des femmes au niveau local. Au Sénégal, le programme a été développé depuis très longtemps. Les associations de femmes se sont mobilisées, se sont battues pour avoir des acquis. Mais il faudrait également penser local. Penser local nous amène à mettre en place un programme d'autonomisation économique des femmes axé sur l'éducation financière. C'est important. Axé sur l'entrepreneuriat, c'est important également, mais également on a mis en place un important programme de promotion aux acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire. En parlant de ce programme, ce que nous avons mis en place en termes de stratégie au niveau de la ville de Dakar, c'est de formaliser, parce que tout tourne autour de l'approche triptyque: formation, financement et encadrement. Pourquoi la formation? Parce que nous, quand on a pris les rênes de la municipalité, les rênes du FODEM, on s'est rendu compte qu'il y avait beaucoup de détournements d'objectifs. Les femmes peinaient à décrocher des financements au niveau des banques pour les conditions que nous connaissons tous, liées aux problèmes de garantie. Les banques sont frileuses, osons le dire, quand il s'agit de prêter aux femmes. Au Sénégal, nous sommes avancés, puisqu'il y a des programmes, beaucoup de programmes dédiés au financement des femmes. Mais les femmes éprouvent beaucoup de problèmes pour accéder au financement classique. C'est la raison pour laquelle, au niveau de la ville de Dakar, nous avons mis en place un programme lié au financement et dédié spécialement au financement des femmes et des jeunes. C'est le Fonds de développement et de solidarité municipale. Le maire de Dakar, dans son approche, insiste beaucoup sur cet aspect. Des fonds sont dédiés à ces femmes. Une formation également axée sur l'éducation financière, parce que moi j'ai l'habitude de le dire dans mes propos, les femmes savent épargner, savent emprunter, mais elles savent également gaspiller. C'est le programme du gaspillage à l'occasion des cérémonies familiales. Donc nous avons mis en place ce programme d'éducation financière pour les former, les renforcer et les inciter à économiser, à épargner. C'est important, il faut le dire. Nous avons également mis en place des stratégies pour promouvoir les acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Vous n'êtes pas sans savoir que la cible principale, c'est généralement les femmes. Et pour les inciter, les amener à l'autonomisation économique, il faut leur apprendre à épargner. Il faut leur apprendre à... je ne reviens pas sur ce problème de gaspillage, mais je pense qu'il faut mettre en place des stratégies, et nous l'avons fait au niveau de la ville de Dakar. Et cela nous a valu d'aller vers l'organisation d'un important forum, c'est le Forum de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Et j'en profite pour inviter tous ceux qui sont là à Dakar, parce que ce forum se tiendra pour une première fois en Afrique, à Dakar précisément. Dakar a candidaté avec beaucoup d'autres villes et a remporté la candidature. Dakar va abriter le premier forum de l'économie sociale et solidaire du 1er au 6 mai 2023. Et il serait heureux que ceux qui sont là puissent se joindre à nous pour réussir cette importante manifestation. J'en profite, M. Diallo, pour lancer cet appel et inviter la diaspora, puisque la diaspora est interpellée au premier chef pour l'organisation et la réussite de cet important forum qui se tiendra à Dakar. Les acteurs de l'économie sociale et solidaire à Dakar ont trouvé un créneau propice à leur développement. Moi, je me plais toujours à le rappeler. L'année dernière, nous avons eu au niveau de la ville de Dakar à accompagner plus de 15 000 bénéficiaires. Le maire de Dakar, Barthélémy Diaz, dans ses propos, axe toute son activité, toutes ses actions sur l'humain. Toutes ces actions sont centrées sur l'humain. Et il a l'habitude de le dire. Toutes mes actions concourent à promouvoir l'humain. C'est important. Donc, je voudrais remercier M. Diallo, parce que je ne peux pas m'arrêter. C'est une opportunité, une occasion pour moi de sensibiliser, d'informer surtout l'auditoire sur ce qui se fait au niveau de la ville de Dakar en termes de promotion, en termes d'accompagnement et en termes d'autonomisation économique des femmes et des jeunes. Je vous remercie.
Mark Hutchins, please share with us briefly this perspective on waste management, please.
There we go. First off, thanks so much for the invitation to be here today with this wonderful group. We have, since Dr. Diallo's visit to Tennessee earlier in the spring, had many, many conversations on how we, through higher education and through economic development and workforce development, can help to empower women and girls, not just in Africa, but across the world. So I am the father of 3 daughters, so I can't think of anything more important than that. Through our educational resources that I'm part of through Motlow College and also through Ecomore Resource Corporation, where we've patented a process to be able to take municipal solid waste and turning it into a usable fuel so that that generates 75% less greenhouse gases than traditional methods of burning. We believe that we can help foster partnerships all across the world that will help to achieve the goals of this organization. So I'll be happy to speak with anyone about that. And again, thank you for the invitation and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I come to you over there, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yes.
No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Diallo, for giving me voice. And I'm Maria Borges from Angola. And now I'm taking the new position as the new and the first tourism ambassador. So my permanent language is Portuguese, and we also have the dialect in my country. And I commit to join force with the fashion team, which is my strong platform to to support the Head Card program. And as a woman, it's my pleasure to be here, and thank you very much. And that was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Você fala muito bem inglês. Estamos muito contentes disto. Obrigado. Sim.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I am Dr. Ahlem. I am also African woman from Tunisia, in Africa, of course. So I am going to be short. Just I want to agree with you all that we need more access to education, jobs, housing, healthcare for better empowerment of women. But the most important is to create a culture that refuses to tolerate abuse in any form. So we can set laws and institutions, but will not be used of if we do not change the mentality and the culture of society. For that, I make a call for all the NGO today to work more and more on the change of the society, on the change of the mentality and of the change of the culture. I am coming from Tunisia, the first Arabic country that we have a lot of stuff, a lot of law working for the best of the women, a lot of institutions working for the best of the women, but we still far away really from to talk about end of violence against women. So please let us work more and more on the change of culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Queen Mother Blakely and then Queen Makazi, please. Go ahead.
I just want to say the ancestors are pleased with you, our son, because violence against women has been throughout the time of history. And when we see the red card, it represents the male child introduced it to the world and understood the role of the mother of civilization energy to the world. And Queen Mother, just want to say we should end all form of violence against Mother Earth, Mother of civilization. It's a part of this red card promotion to the male child that we give birth to. Violence against women within families, and to have a male child bring this to our consciousness from the mother of civilization energy, we give thanks. We give thanks to the greater force, recognizing the role of that mother energy of civilization, and no form of violence should ever been corrected or toward her. And to have a male child to bring it to the consciousness of G77, and to stand here with us and saying no more violence, discrimination, no more, no more, no more against that energy that give birth and life to the world. And we say to you, Jibril Diallo, we thank God for you. Allah has blessed you with a message that you can carry all throughout the world, and especially to the sports arena. Getting ready now for the sports engagement with soccer. Soccer must stop for no more violence. No more violence in the games that they play against the woman and the mother of civilization. And so we all just want to say to the women and the girls and the daughters and to our sons, husbands, partners, no more violence within our divine family, and we give thanks.
That's the one and only Queen Mother Blakely. May God continue to give you very good health, long life. Thank you, Queen Mother Blakely. All the way from South Africa, we have a short message from Queen Makadzi, please.
Yes, first of all, I feel like crying always when I look at you, our father, our role model, our protector as women and our girl child. I would like to say thank you to your team who is there for you day and night to support you. I will not mention all of them, they know themselves, especially Mekoni, I will say it in our language. Thank you, Mama, for whatever you are doing. I've got only few words for you. I ask myself every day. And when I ask that question to myself and my God, is to say, where are those other men to be there like you, who stand for us and a girl child? Where are those men who can do the same of whatever you are doing? I used to hide myself, even though I'm a leader, but you motivate us day and night. Then today, I'm not going to talk about whatever I'm doing in South Africa. I just want to say thank you, Papa. You're a great father to all of us. And those who are here, I mean the men, support this man who is there for us day and night. With whatever you have, I'm doing everything which I will make sure that even that 1,000 which we are looking for, with my team at home, the chiefs who are there to lead with me, we have got those sports, tournaments which they sign every day for Red Card. We have those cultural competition which we make sure that they raise this card. As our Mother Queen already have summarized whatever I wanted to say, please, Papa, may God, our loving God, give you more days so that you will fight for our rights. As business leaders, as leaders for the community, we are so proud of you. Please, Papa, all of you, let's pray for this man and let's support him day and night. Thank you so much.
We have limitations in terms of the time we have to spend here. So I know that the conversation is very interesting. There are very, very interesting perspectives. I'd like to thank you, Queen Mother Makadzi, for all your support, for all your efforts, your tireless efforts to bring the kingdoms, the kings, the queens, and the royal families in South Africa in here. We appreciate the fact that you made the effort to fly all the way from South Africa to be present here. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much, Queen Makadzi. I would like to give 2 minutes without closing this, without having an individual who has worked tirelessly inside the United Nations system to support the actions of the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. Hawa Jallow, please come in with your message. Please.
Well, I don't know what to say because I'm here to support my mentor, Jibril Diallo. There's nothing that could keep me from being here because he's somebody that means so much to me, somebody who I have looked up to for so many years in the work that he does to champion leadership empowerment for women and also for young people. I'm still growing in my journey in the United Nations, and I hope that when I mature, that I myself can be like him. I was just sitting here and telling my cousin sitting next to me when I went to Senegal last year just how impressed I was, just how good I felt when I saw Jibril and the work that he's doing in Senegal. So I join everybody here when I say, let's pray for Baba, let's pray for our brother, let's pray for our father, that he continues, because, you know, he's blazing. He's blazing on the continent, and every time I see the things that he does, it just gives me so much hope in what is happening in the continent and knowing that the continent is in good hands. So I look forward again, Jibril, to seeing all the good works that you're doing. And of course, count on us here. Judith is here with me. There's nothing that could keep us from coming and spending time with you and really appreciating the work that you're doing. I feel so honored. I'm surprised I'm not crying because I'm so touched, Jibril. I didn't expect to take the floors, but really I send all my love to you and really all the respect I have for you and your family. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would like to, by way of closing remarks, to say the following. First of all, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you, the guests, because everybody's extremely busy and very, very tied up, and you gave up everything that you're doing to come and spend all this time preparing yourself to come and spend your time here with us. We're most grateful to you because we are, as I said, we are a human chain that is making sure that 74 years, the commitment that was made, that commitment is respected. Violation of human rights against women is a violation against the rights of everybody, all of us in this room, so that women will be in the lead and men need to be engendered, because in our societies, we are brought up in such a way that the little girl coming from school is obliged to go and help the mother to do the cooking, while the boy throws the school bag away and goes out playing football or soccer. So that we have to make sure that at home in our cultures, we deal with the issue of gender equality. And that means women and girls everywhere are treated so less favorably, so favorably as men and boys. Let us welcome our world where our mothers, I'm talking to you because my father died when I was 11. It was a woman who made me who I am. My mother is still alive, so that she's the most wonderful person that is there. So that my work on the red card is something that I have seen a woman who has not been to Western school can encourage somebody to go on and be the advocate that is working as part of a team, because I'm being mentioned, but the team is more important than any individual. So that our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, our granddaughters can make real choices in every aspect of their lives. This is what we are here for. And I said to you, the next item that I have in the agenda are two things. One, you've had a lot of information and you had a lot of ideas, and let us continue to be in touch so that each and every one of you can go back with committing to one idea to make sure that we fight against all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. Secondly, on the 22nd of November, we will come back to you. We're going to organize the global launch of the Red Card campaign using the convening power of the sports and cultures as entry points. FIFA's meeting in Doha, with all due respect, is men who are playing soccer there. We want to bring 1,000 women in the areas of sports and cultures, either in Doha or in the General Assembly Hall here, the day after the opening of FIFA, to say that the idea of using the convening powers of sports and cultures, using the leadership, the support of women leaders such as the first Vice President of Costa Rica, Epsi Campbell, here present, who will help us to mobilize the women in Latin America and the Caribbean. Using the convening powers of women like the Vice President of Colombia, the first declaration to a United Nations session that she made here. So we want to make sure that we come back to you and for us to organize a powerful event that will focus on women of sport, women of culture, to which we add the private sector. The time is limited, but together when we are here, we make 2 and 2 become 5 rather than 4. So that I know that it's possible. And now I would like each one of you to pick up your cards and stand up, please. And raise your cards, your red cards. Each one of you, there are red cards. Raise your cards because photographs are being taken, videos are being taken as a testimony of the history that in the Trusteeship Council chambers today, Thursday, 29th of September, we have participants in the African Summit, Africa Open for Business, individually and collectively, in the room and virtually, recommitting themselves to doing everything possible to make sure that we use the convening powers of sports and culture to end all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. May God help us. Amen. Thank you. The session is closed.
Do you want to play the 2-minute or do you want to just go red
do the 2-minute, yeah. Thank you.
You see in this world, everybody says you need to have somebody, but I'm telling you I don't need nobody. Yeah. God told me that he got a plan for me. Little baby, go and spread your wings. So I'm gonna keep stepping out into my destiny. Yeah, I'm free. I ain't gonna be sorry. So I'm gonna keep stepping out into my destiny. Yeah, I'm free. I ain't gonna be sorry. He put the plans before me, and I got decided. Yeah. Hi, my name's Larissa Martin, a singer-songwriter, a part of Del Valley High School Record Company. I support the ARDN Red Carpet Campaign to abolish violence and discrimination against all women and all girls. It will make a better world, and I hope you all join me too.
You just watched a blink.